Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Athens, Greece. We had such a great time in Israel the last 10 days, 9 days getting stuff done, getting stuff accomplished. What a wonderful trip, super successful. Then we're on here to Athens, Greece. Been having a great time here getting stuff done. And then if you are anywhere near Laredo, Texas this next weekend, we'll be there Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and we'll have an awesome time. That's Laredo, Texas. Living Word Fellowship. We'll have a great time. But we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, because the Lord wanted us to know what hour we were living in, to the point that He even raised up a whole tribe to be the tribe of Issachar, to have an understanding of the times, to know what the children of Israel ought to do, indicating if you don't know what time it is, you won't know what you should do. So right here with all these verses coming to pass right in front of our eyes, He wants us to know where we are. It's not to have a escape theology, but to have a hustle theology. And the whole thing about it is how much He loves you. He wants you to know about this so you accelerate, but He wants you to know because He loves you. So we find out these things that we're that close to the coming of the Lord, or this close to the coming of the Lord, to make changes so that we can run faster. So it's about hustling. So we've got stuff happening every week that are so dramatic, so clear, so concise, that it almost, I say I would get surprised, but I don't get surprised anymore, because it's just like, oh dear Lord, there's one more thing. So think about it. Paul talked about the baptism 12 times, coming of the Lord 52 times. For every one verse there is about the first coming of the Lord, there's 8 times more about the second coming. And you remember when Jesus came into the madman of Gadara, screamed out, the demon screamed out, "Have you come to torment us before the time?" And isn't it amazing? They knew Jesus was on a schedule. If demons can know Jesus was on a schedule and He was early, how much more the church can know that the Lord's on a schedule? Things are flawless in the Bible, flawless in the scheduling of stuff as well. I think of 1917, World War I. Allenby came into the land of Israel, gave them their land back, got the Balfour Declaration. Exactly 50 years later, 50 years, one Jubilee, Jerusalem's won back. So we have all the stuff in the Scripture that we can count on, because it's so perfect. So as we get into the signs and what it's supposed to look like, it shouldn't scare us, it shouldn't concern us. We should be excited. Remember, Jesus said, don't be troubled, don't be deceived. I want you happy, I want you hopeful, and I want you comforted. There is no bad news for the Christian. If you hear things about the coming of the Lord and it scares you, it's not Bible. Because man, there's stuff happening every week that are scary for the world, but not for the church, because we'll be caught up, we'll be raptured. At the rapture, the believers go up into the air to meet the Lord in the air, and then we're up there for 7 years. We go to the reward seat of Christ, marriage supper of the Lamb, and then we come back with Jesus at the second coming. What an event that's going to be, where every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that He is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So let's pick up with what's happened this last week. The main agenda has been back and forth with Iran. Last week, Iran says, we're not going to do any nuclear talk. This week, they said they are going to do nuclear talk. Benjamin Netanyahu says there's one thing about Iran, is they're liars. So you can't really count on them doing this. But there's a lot more stuff been happening. Like even Senator Lindsey Graham said, we're at the verge of finally getting rid of the leadership in Iran. And because of that, what's brought that about, though, is strength. We ordered 30,000 bunker buster bombs. We got all of our in-air refueling planes there, ready to help Israel's planes, ready to help our planes. So you have the 3rd aircraft carrier almost there. So you have this mass amount of force that produces some change in Iran. Iran even said they would be open to letting inspectors in now. But I like that Israel's came on really strong this week and said, you can't stockpile any enriched uranium at all. So I like that bold stance, because that keeps them from doing what they want to do. But this is how crazy it's been. You got China stockpiling oil right now, massive amounts of oil, getting ready for a world war. Crazy. You have the call to prayer, Islamic call to prayer, happening in New York City 5 times a day now. The call to prayer, if you've heard that call to prayer, that Islamic call to prayer, it's the most annoying sound on the planet, and you've got that happening in New York City. So you have this kind of crazy stuff happening all the time. You've got the UK and Germany. They agreed to jointly start opening up their defense systems because of an attack maybe by Putin. You had this week, the Ukraine had the largest gain of land that they've gained in the war. But in the midst of that, Putin fired back some of the strongest missiles that he's fired so far. So you've got it going back both ways, sideways. A lot of talk about they were going to try to make Texas join Sharia law. Let me just tell you right now, you're never going to have Texas take on Sharia law. It ain't going to happen. So all these things, though, that we look at could be alarming if we didn't know the end. But we know the end is that what's going to happen is the church is going to be caught up. And then what happens is the Ezekiel 38 war. You have Russia, Syria, Iran, Turkey come against Israel. Well, right now, even before that happens, you got this last week, you had leaders in Israel say that Turkey is taking on the new position of Iran, that Erdogan can't be trusted either. So it's going to keep moving around like that until all those guys come together and they attack Israel. The Bible says that God eliminates 85% of them. And I like how he says it, so the heathen may know that he is God. But the earth will go back to Old Testament law. The church gets taken off the earth and it goes back to Old Testament time. God takes off his gloves and says rat-a-tat-tat with my baseball bat and protects Israel. So all this is happening. Why? Because Jesus is just about to come. There's many, many, many more things happening that you just look at and go, Lord, how can we even cover all this? But the point is, you're seeing things that are a setup. I saw Macron do some things this last week with China, and all of it is a setup for a one world leader to come on the scene to take things over and to show and really push for a Palestinian state and borders from the 6-day war. We're blessed because we get to watch it and see it happen, and we can take our check mark and go, wow, God said this came to pass. So we're very, very blessed. So what we do each week, once we go through what's happening that week, we talk about what's the word say? Everything changes and goes this way and that way, but the Bible never changes. So we have the signs of the coming of the Lord. Number 1, Israel regathered as a nation. Number 2, Jerusalem won back. Pretty remarkable. You got the Hebrew language restored after that, because God said, I'll give them a pure language right before the Messiah comes. You've got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. You have the Ethiopian Jews that were brought back in one day. You've got foxes on the Temple Mount. You have fish in the Dead Sea. You have the Dead Sea turning blood red where Sodom and Gomorrah was. It happened on the Day of Atonement. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You have the ritual baths around the Temple Mount filled with water. We were just there this last week, and how cool to see those ritual baths full. So it's happening right before our eyes. You have other things happening with the Temple Mount. You had the red heifers, the one that was sacrificed a while back that they said was a practice run, and it ended up being a real run. So remarkable that all these natural things that the Bible said you'd see are happening right before our eyes. They even got the red heifer from Texas. They registered it as a service animal, which is pretty crazy, walking down the airport with a cow, but they got the cows here just for that. So you have the Temple Mount Institute that's ready to start having sacrifices. You've got Russia built the archway for Baal worship in Palmyra. Talmud says that's the last sign you'll see before the Messiah comes. Pretty crazy. It goes on and on from there. There's many more. Men will be lovers themselves with selfie sticks. But then you go from signs to signals. You had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. You had 4 in a row, which is called a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1948, when Israel was regathered as a nation. 1967, when Jerusalem was won back. And 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion, when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. That's absolutely remarkable. Remarkable that God could have signs and signals. And then you had the Bethlehem star. Pretty amazing. Those 3 planets came together, Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus, showing that a king was to be born right there. He was born right there. He was born, he grew up and lived and let himself die. He gave his life for us, and God raised him from the dead. So you live on the earth when all this heavenly activity is happening right before our eyes. What's the next thing from heaven we'll see? That is, we'll see all this stuff happening, leading right up to the rapture and the catching away of the church. Help your local pastor, help your local church, be soul winners, be involved. I believe we'll see an explosion of the glory of the Lord right here before we're caught up. What an amazing time to live when we're getting to see God's hand in action and movement in the church, and we're seeing the church respond to it, to have things have a countdown to the coming of the Lord. Come back next week. We'll look at what all's happening around Israel. We'll be intrigued to see how far along Iran will go with these talks. Many other talks that are going on too, so they'll be brought to fruition, I believe. So have a blessed, wonderful week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the edu at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.